I think he's got some disc issues now, though, doesn't he?
He has quite a few. He has quite a few. Yeah, I think he has 8 bulging discs, which is horrific.
Maybe you should send him to your man.
Oh, I'm going to, 100%. I mean, I've talked to Hickson about a bunch of things. Hickson, though, is a bit reluctant for certain kinds of treatment. You know, I mean, he's just gonna eat mangoes and fucking meditate and shit. I don't know. I don't know what he's tried or what he's willing to try, but I would love to see him. I mean, I would love to see him rolling again. I mean, that would be amazing if they could regenerate disc tissue to the point where he would be healthy.
I mean, that's the fear.
Yeah.
Right? The fear for the first time for me is that I've never felt any version of age on the mat. But when people are starting to tell me, oh, we're not going to fix it, we're going to wait until we give you a new one, I'm going, okay, no, I don't like the sound of this, mate.
And when they're saying that about your knee, what is the issue? Is it a meniscus issue?
It is a meniscus issue, but I've lost 75% of the meniscus, of the cartilage.
Whoa.
I get confused between the difference, cartilage and meniscus. What is the difference?
Cartilage is what covers the outside of the bone. Meniscus is the padding, essentially, that's in between the two bones that keeps them from touching each other.
Right. Okay.
So they have both.
So it goes bone, meniscus.
No, bone, cartilage.
Bone, cartilage, meniscus.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And the meniscus, you can cut some of it out, but when you and I've had that done. My left knee, they did they go in arthroscopically and they trim some of the torn meniscus.
Yeah.
It works, but it's less stable. There's less tissue in there. It's more subject to inflammation and swelling. It doesn't handle the load as well. But I got stem cells shot into there, and I've never had a problem since. It's amazing. I had a problem with it I tore it for the first time more than 20 years ago. And I had an operation, I think in 95, somewhere around there. And then I had another operation on it in 2001, 2002. And it's always been an issue since then. It's just one of those things that you get sore, I just deal with it. Whether it's kickboxing or whether it's lifting weights or whether it's jiu-jitsu, it gets sore, I just deal with it. I take glucosamine and chondroitin and a lot of fish oil and anti-inflammatories, and changing my diet helped quite a bit. But there was always that thing until they shot the stem cells in there. And then literally within a few months, it's non-existent. Like, I don't think I have this knee that acts up anymore. Now I have a knee that never acts up. It just doesn't bother me anymore.
This is very exciting stuff.
It's very exciting stuff.
And tell me, how thin on the wedge are we in terms of this being new?
Well, they've been doing it and experimenting with it for a couple of decades, apparently, according to Dr. McGee. But the understanding of the potentials and the possibilities and then the practical application over the last 10 years has really come to the forefront. It's really become something very, very viable. It's not just theoretical anymore. Now they're actually seeing people regenerating tissue. They're seeing people where you have a tear in like your shoulder or something like that, and they're going, well, you're probably going to have to get surgery. No, then they shoot it in there, and then next thing you know it, a couple months later, I still got some floating tissue that like pops and crunches and stuff in my shoulder, but when it comes to like the actual strength of my shoulder, I don't worry about it at all. Like, it doesn't bother me. There's occasionally some light soreness, but as far as like the functional strength of the shoulder, it's like 100%. It's crazy.
So is this the thin end of the wedge then? So is this going to turn into one of those exponential?
Yes.
It is.
Oh, for sure. For sure. They're already generating. They built this woman.
This is very exciting stuff,
It's very
Joe.
exciting. It's as exciting as it gets.
Yeah.
They're regenerating tissue. They're regenerating body parts. They built this woman a bladder. They took stem cells from her skin, and in a petri dish, they started this off and then built her she had bladder cancer, and they built her a bladder and then put it in her body, and it's functional. It's amazing. This is all state of the art now, and when we're looking at like 10, 20, 30 years from now, you're looking at potentially regenerating all sorts of things, regenerating bone for people who have bone cancer, regenerating lungs and liver and spleen and heart. They're going to be able to make body parts. They've created an artificial heart that beats, like with stem cells. They've actually constructed a human heart.
This is a subject you know something about, I can
I'm
tell.
fascinated by it. Because what they're able to do now is just, you're just looking into the future. You get a window into this. And it seems like it's exponentially exploding. I mean, all over the world, there's people experimenting with this stuff and trying to figure out new ways to improve things.
Well, just the fact I'm having the conversation, and this isn't the first conversation I've had in the last month about this.
Yeah.
It's part of the zeitgeist, no?
Oh, it is now. People are understanding it, and people know people that have had issues with it. You can't get it in America, but in Mexico, I know people that go over there and get it done intravenously. And you know Boss Rutan, is. Boss Rutan, the way he describes, Boss is this big character. He's like, and it was like I had energy coming off my fingertips, like, ah! Boss has had some pretty significant problems. He's got fused discs in his neck, and he had major atrophy in his arm because his disc was, compressed, and it was pushing on the nerves, and so the nerves weren't they weren't firing correctly. So his right arm, he calls baby arm, because his right arm is kind of shrunk, and so he's experimented with a lot of these things. He's kind of been ahead of the curve with this stuff.